Hello, namaskar. It's about 3:45 a.m. now. It's May the 7th. The holidays are all over. So we're going into that period or time where we have to be every day on the job, on the secular life, on our toes, and on um, our callings, our jobs. So today I'm gonna talk about the subject of Guru Bhakti Yoga. You know, there's an intellectual who is traversing our plains at the moment. This character has a long list of intellectual achievements from various creditable universities also. Now the thing is, when people are being endowed, they're being obliged with so many laurels of victory, of success. Society expects that they will make some returns like service, like education wise. They will be an asset in the society. But when it's used for self-aggrandizement, for material purposes to get land and properties and name and fame, then it borders in on selfishness. Now, some of the greatest intellectuals in history, like Albert Einstein, like Oppenheimer, like Jagadish Chandra Bose, they say at the pinnacle of intellect, the intuition begins to manifest. So many of these great intellectuals, they had some calling, some feelings, some respect and for the intuitive area of the minds. In fact, spiritual practices are called intuitive practices also. Intuitive practices, that's beyond the intellect, the intuition, the spiritual feel. Actually, according to Sri Shanandamurti ji, one has to sublimate the physical into the intellect. From the intellect, got to transmute into the spiritual. He says also that the physical man might defeat 10 people, but intellectual can defeat 100, while the spiritual 1,000. So in what it says, the spirit is stronger than the mind, and the mind is stronger than the body. So that's why people say mind over matter, the mind is stronger, and so on. Now, as we seen, people who live in the intellectual sphere, you want to ask ourselves, do they follow moral precepts? Mean good conduct, good behavior as outlined by the Shastras, the scriptures, and the holy books. If not, then they're downright material people. That's why we have people who are born in places or take birth and lives in places where there are rich culture that is decorated by ethical practices, ethics. So even many professions have ethics, law, medicine, pharmacy have ethics, rules and laws which you have to follow and which govern your behavior, and this make you an ideal citizen, a human, differentiate you from a human, from an animal. People want a human society where we can have nice behavior, nice rules and nice laws governing our everyday synchronicities. But when we don't have our leaders displaying and enforcing same, mankind sometimes find himself degenerating to the lower planes where expressivity and sensitivity becomes gross, the intellect becomes gross, the perception of finer things becomes testy or difficult, hardy. So we have a culture of nations like the Jews, the Europeans, the Hebrews, the Indians, the Chinese, these ancient civilizations, the Egyptians, these Greeks, the Romans. They had very ethical practices. And according to Kirpal Singh, for example, the Sikh master who founded Rohini Satsang, he said when you practice ethics, the mind becomes a receptacle for inspiration, for divinity, for messages, for initiatives, and so on. So people have to practice human conduct if they want to feel the higher psychic pleasures, spiritual experiences, and so on. This is known as simple morality when you practice, but that can fall along anytime under pressure, under circumstances. For example, when there are floods and natural calamity and disaster, rapes increase, violence increase, survival instinct increase. So simple morality can fall along at any time, but if we practice spiritual morality through our spiritual life, these good qualities emerge naturally. They are more so persevering, they are more it's more stable, it doesn't break and fall so easily, that's why we have intellectuals without moral foundation. They can be menace in a society. Like Adolf Hitler, he practiced occultism to gain power using the swastika. And Adolf Hitler had great control over many intellectuals like doctors, engineers, lawyers in Germany. They were all following him like servants because he had the spiritual power. He knew to bend and break the laws of nature, and he could change circumstances and situations. So these people naturally followed him. But if they don't have morality, ethic, they don't follow it, then they become a tyrant, unjust. So in Hinduism they say vivek and vairag. If you have discrimination and detachment, it makes your existence more praiseworthy. People have existences, and although they have many great achievements in life, if they don't have morality, good conduct, purity, their names become, it's not just everlasting. It doesn't make that kind of imprint, eternal imprint, that immortal signature is not there, They'll just be another person. It's a good character, a beautiful personality that really touches people, that touches humanity, that inspires humanity, that evokes the best from humanity, that so that they can themselves do something worthwhile and worthy in society, make positive contributions, lasting contributions. But when you lead society in the opposite way due to your intellectual struggle, people struggle for years and months to achieve something so that they can get control over something else. This is not the right way, For example, we have the holy books give many examples of good conduct. You say our duty is to serve but should not expect anything in return, And at the same time, we have to live a life of service, a life of goodness. At the same time, we can't allow inimical forces to exploit us. So that's why the Sadguru of this time, Shushananda Murti, said you should fight exploitation, establish morality, establish virtue, lead society on the path of benevolence. That's why it's like a razor edge, like a blade you're walking on the spiritual path. Any moment you slip, you get caught, you get injured. So we have many intellectuals, they have come and they have become pundits, they have become teachers, gurus. But if they don't have the essential nature of a moralist, of a teacher, or a guru, as laid down by the injunction of the scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita describes the qualities of a good person as being of godly or divine nature, and those of the undivine teacher as being asuric, as being precarious, as being untrustworthy, you know. So as we mount on the spiritual ladder, which is necessary that we embody virtues and qualities that will take us from one step to another. And those teachers that are preaching that religion is essential, is the truth of, is the voice of God. You know, it's not, it has to be examined, because there's one intellectual who's telling me, a doctor, he says that Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, Anandamarg, Brahma Kumaris, all these cult, Sikhism, Jainism, that worship man and worship gurus and teachers, is a cult. Jains, the Jainism, they have how much Tirthankars? I think it's 24 or 12 or something like that. And they were ordinary men and they practice austerity. They have techniques in their scriptures. And they elevated themselves into prophets. They have God developed all the siddhis mentioned in the holy books, the siddhis and the riddhis, as they call them, the occult powers. They have all the powers and they have all the qualities that would be ascribed as a realized and an enlightened master, you know. They have all these techniques available in the books, the holy books there in the East, right? So, this thing has to be validated when prophets come out of the spiritual university, born out of the spirituality. He's a lay person. You're not in a university. You're a self-made doctor, a self-made lawyer, a self-made engineer. And the expert in the universities have to examine your skills before they can bestow honorary doctorate on you, you know. You just don't go about on your own being a self-made teacher or a master like that, you know. You have to be examined by a board, by the church. For example, Mormonism, when Joseph Smith was claiming to be a prophet of the Mormons, the Catholic Church tried to discard his claim and to, discard him, you know, because they say he didn't meet the criteria even of a saint and a legitimate holy man. But they had a fight between the two controversies, with all these controversies. So there are two separate churches of Christianity today, the Mormons and the Catholic, you know. So when people are claiming that they achieve enlightenment, it can be an impossibility. There's a movie that is on Netflix. It's called The Unholy. If you watch that movie, you can see how deceptions can mislead people into thinking that they're saints and holy people, you know. The Unholy is a very nice movie. You should watch it. Though I don't usually try to avoid movies on television, you have to, if you have this kind of thing, you have to select good programs, documentaries, educational program. But Yogananda Paramahansa, he said you can watch a movie occasionally. But this habit of movie watching, a movie going as a daily recourse can be kind of tempt us, kind of distracting, and from the further spiritual people. There are other entertainments and delights that are within, that is the spirit can enjoy, spiritual adventures they call them, I think. You don't need these so much external things, you can but it's just because for adapting to society, and so yogis make use of this thing, to blend with people and adapt with people, but you don't really need them, in advanced levels. So we have this cult of intellectuals, this cult who are claiming that guru worshippers are cultish. This intellectual cult is claiming that only the Orthodox religion is true, the worship of the goddess and the gods. But through time, through the passage of time, these practices have been corrupted by followers and students, as that the original teachings might be lost, they might be distorted. For example, Saraswati Baba is saying, you can see in one of her four hands, she has a book. But being an ancient god, in those days there was no book or paper invented at that time. So can an ancient god, 1,000 or 2,000 or a 1,000,000-year-old goddess, having books in her hand? So